Everybody, good morning. There's Bryant. He's with us. Um,
Hey,
so it's been an interesting.
hey,
It was a interesting season, buddy. I mean, you there? Can you hear me?
oh, I'm here. Just getting everything taken care of on my end. It's been a little while since we fired up the YouTube channel. So if anybody's out there and they're saying, "What, Jake Moody, the like button, and why is this guy wearing a number 4 jersey?" Because I still believe in this team, David. And yes, just like you're saying, it's been an interesting season. The season it's over now for us. Um, some people might think that it was meant to be, or it just happens after a Super Bowl loss. But how do you feel?
Well, we did have a lot of injuries pile up. Um, we had some players that were, I'd say, average at their position take a step back. That's mainly like these guys are on the offensive line. There's two of them. Um, and when it comes to like our D line rotation, we just haven't been. We need that guy in the middle, and Hargrave, we signed him thinking he was going to be that guy, and turns out hasn't been, right? Um, and then we got, we let Armstead go because, number one, the huge cap hit that was coming up. Number two, state being on the field's pretty big in the NFL, and he's having some health issues that aren't going to go away. They're going to hang out. So there's multiple reasons. It's not that he's not a great humanitarian because he always was every year. Every year he was up for the Walter Payton Man of the Year award for the 49ers, right? Every year.
Mm-hmm.
So and our defensive, our linebackers, that's honestly shows how badly we missed a guy like Dre Greenlaw. And we tried to get that guy that was the starting middle linebacker for the Dallas Cowboys all season, but he said, "No, I don't want to be a placeholder." And Devondre Campbell was like, "Yeah, I'll sign with you guys." And then Greenlaw comes back, and all of a sudden, Devondre Campbell realized, "Oh, I'm just a placeholder. What do you think we were signing you for to start with, man?" But all year, Fred Warner breaks his ankle in the Patriots game and plays on it for the rest of the year. Folks, if you don't respect that, there's something wrong with you. George Kittle, he's actually had a fantastic season when it comes down to it. Over 1,000 yards. I think this is actually the second best season in his career. And he missed a game, didn't he? I think he did. He missed a game.
Yeah, he missed a game. Yeah.
And Christian McCaffrey,
So
according to his own brother, it was because he pushes it too hard in the gym. When he's trying to keep in shape, he pushes it too hard, and he had some tendon and ligament issues flare up. They have fancy names for it. I'll say it for what it is. That's what it was. It was overuse. And it was definitely a combination of him playing a lot and him hitting the gym and working out too hard. It was definitely a combination of that. And then he went to Germany and saw some voodoo witch doctor over there, and that didn't. And then all of a sudden he sprains one of the ligaments in his knee and he's done for the year. I mean, what do you think? Like it's been just one of those seasons, But yeah, what do you think?
Well, I think you got to pay people what they're worth, and you got to pay people. But sometimes when you pay people, the production you get afterwards isn't what you were hoping for. or maybe sometimes it happens before that. Like somebody doesn't they overperform, and then the next year they have a down year, or they have a down year and then they have a great year, and you're like, well, we should probably pay that guy, but now his contract's here and he's going to a different team because now you had the opportunity to say, hey, we want to keep you, and he said, well, this is what I got. Now other teams are interested in me, so I'm going to go see where I can get it better at. And I feel like the difference between now and years past, I know there was trading and stuff like that went around, but it seemed like players stayed with teams longer. And it just doesn't seem like they have the. It seems like it's me. It's not a team. It's me. So when we get together and talk a lot, I do feel like bringing up how much players make and stuff like that is really unjustified, and it's really not. I don't think players should get paid what they're getting paid. It's an entertainment and it's a sports business. I get it. But when you have all this stuff that's happening, when owners ask the taxpayers to pay for their stadiums and then threaten to move their stadiums, and it's just a really vicious cycle. So it's like, okay, there are several cities across America that could have another NFL team or another major league sports team, and we're seeking out stadiums outside of the United States to go and try to do what? Expand, letting other countries watch our games and stuff. Well, there's TV for that, right, David? But no, instead of us like investing in ourselves, we're continuing to spread out and spread out. So I think like what's happened with this year with the Niners is it was maybe like a ripple effect. Maybe you could say it started with Jimmy Garoppolo when we overpaid him. And why did we overpay him? Because he was at the point in his contract where when he got switched to another team, or even with the Patriots, they were going to have to pay him. It was either going to keep Brady or they were going to keep him. So we were the ones who ended up getting Jimmy, and we overpaid him for 5 games. And do we overpay him? Because afterwards, the way the contracts worked out and stuff like that, he wasn't the highest paid quarterback anymore. But he got paid now compared to other quarterbacks, but for that time, that moment in history, he was the most paid. So then I think it kind of went from him, and then we really didn't pay. We let go a couple of really good defensive linemen that we should have tried to retain. They went, they went to different places. And then we also we signed Deebo, which Deebo at the time was a player that other teams they couldn't replicate. We'll give them one season, and now everybody's got a Deebo on their team now, and some teams have 2 Deebos. And then Ayuk is another one that it's like, come on, guy. It's like, you see this guy just got paid, so now you're going to start drawing it. So what happened this year, and then by us getting CMC, that was great because that was kind of like, well, Deebo goes away, we have CMC, and CMC took over more of the offense. And I don't know if that offended Deebo or what, but when he did get his shots, he was 50-50. So now, Ayuk's kind of the same way. He's running around saying, I'm the 4th best player on the team, or I'm the 4th option on a team and I have 1,000 yards receiving. That's great. But if everybody starts talking, then they're not going to be getting those balls, and they're not going to be getting those yards and stats because they're going to be worried about their stats. When you're worried about your stats, it's obvious that, either you feel like you're not eating enough or you're not being, appreciated enough. And I think the team, for the most part, everybody appreciated each other. Like when Jimmy was there and we had George Kittle, CJ Beathard, the CJ Beathard and George Kittle was a team from college. They were teammates. So I believe that helped build this culture. They come in and throwing passes to each other and, just, practicing and stuff. And then the team kind of has built this culture. So now that you have more and more players that are coming into the team and saying, I want a bigger chunk of the pie. I want a bigger chunk of the pie. There's only so much money. So now this year we get to the point where Trent Williams is restructuring his contract. CMC is restructuring their contract. And at the beginning of the season, Ayuk and Trent Williams both held out. So it was why. Why did they hold out? Was it because of money, or was it because they were upset Armstead wasn't re-signed? And because Armstead wasn't re-signed, they said, okay, we're gonna go ahead and see if we can get the money that Armstead should have got. And we're gonna hold out. This is our moment. They're either gonna pay us or they're gonna be effed, right? And it's really not something nice to think about, them putting us a standstill because it's after the season. It's after preseason. It's after the draft. Well, everybody knows the draft comes first, and then you sign players, and then you have preseason, and then you can still sign players. And it's at the point where everybody's been signed. So it's either you're going to make this decision and pay this person, or you're going to go without. And we are supposed to have the most depth out of a lot of teams. We were supposed to have the best team in football, and it seemed like this year when we got hurt, our second players and third players weren't adequate enough to stand up to the shoes that these starters are getting paid, or the starters are doing. Their stats are way better than these the second and third stringers. So maybe if we didn't pay these guys as much and we were able to pay some better players to step up if these starters did get hurt, maybe we wouldn't be so bad. And I really think, David, it really comes down to what do you want out of life? Do you want just to worry about yourself and make as much money as you physically can make, or do you want to be comfortable? And I think being happy and winning a Super Bowl would be great, right? But some people aren't in it to win a Super Bowl. Some people are in it to hey, David, not everybody wants to eat Spam, right? They want to eat something different, right? And it's just not worth it to some. So when you look at this season and you say, okay, well, this guy's making a lot of money, but this guy's not. You look at certain players and you're like, wow, this guy does this and this and this, and he's not contributing to, or this guy's missing kicks, or this guy's not running around with a broken foot. You see some players going above and beyond, and you see other players not. And when you see a player drop a pass, you're like, well, how much money did he just drop? They're not going up to him and saying, can we have some of this money back? And even if they did, it's not going to your pocket or my pocket. It's going to the organizations, going to the owner. So it really just comes down to, what is the owner willing to accept? And for us as fans, we want excellence, right? We want everything to be perfect. We want to win and have big numbers, and but some people just want a championship. They don't care about everything else. They don't care if their player goes 1,000 yards. They would rather see that player stop before the end zone so they can kneel the clock out and get the W. Some people want it all. And again, some people are happy with Spam and eggs. Some people want steak, and it's just whatever you want, And I don't know, David. I think next year's going to be way better. I think it's going to be better because we have like a third or fourth place schedule, and if we run it back with all these superstars, why shouldn't we win a Super Bowl? Why shouldn't we be right back where we're at? It's really sad that some of the players got hurt the way they did, but I think it was lingering from last year. We ran it all the way to the Super Bowl. We fought hard. We almost won it. And a couple of decisions should have been made. It could have been made differently. Hey, we might be walking away or talking right now that we had the Super Bowl. But right now, I think if they can just come back together, like you were saying when we first started, and I'll let you talk here. When we were just saying we need a defensive line. If we don't have a defensive line, how are we gonna stop the offense? We see quarterbacks can stand back there, and if they have time, they can throw it. They can throw it almost the whole field. Almost any team has a quarterback like that. If you don't have a quarterback that can do that, then you have to have some kind of gimmick or trick. And we have a gimmick and trick. We have a couple of those. But that's the goal, is to give your quarterback enough time, a couple seconds to throw the ball to an open wide receiver, tight end player, right? And that's our other problem, David. Is we don't have somebody who can get to that quarterback, and we don't have somebody who can block for our quarterback. Because our quarterback, again, maybe he doesn't need that many seconds, but he's getting hit, and he's getting hit and injured too often. So when you have another example, you have a player who keeps getting hurt. Do you pay him? It's the right thing to do, right? But if you're thinking about the team long term, do you want to wrap yourself up into a contract, for a quarterback who keeps hurting his throwing arm? What do you think?
Well, I think like number one, Brock Purdy needs to think about his future. This is what a lot of these players say. Oh, I got to think about my family and my future. Okay, that's fine. You know, you're gonna be rich. You're already making 14 point something $1 million on your, you know, the 5th year option of your contract. I'm talking about Ayuk. You know, people like you and me, we're never gonna see that kind of money. You know, but it's not enough for these guys, right? They got to get that. Oh, I'm watching this guy sign Amon-Ra St. Brown signs his contract. All of a sudden, Ayuk is posting a video of him dancing like, yeah, look at that. This guy just got paid. I'm gonna get that. Dude, really? Like, don't post that video. All you're doing is making yourself look bad. You know. And then, you know, the fact that at one point he actually did agree to $28.5 million. The Niners were dragging their feet, working out the contract language. Let's talk about this. Then all of a sudden, CeeDee Lamb signed his contract. And that wasn't enough. He had to be in the 30-plus range. You know? So it comes a certain point in time where, yeah, you got to think about your family, sure. But like, what are you talking about here? You want to just put money in the bank and be like, all right, my family's set for generations. You're not going to start a business. You're not going to do something wise to make it work out long term so your family's set up for generations with this money. What are you going to do with this money? You know, Trent Williams, you know, he was actually out of guaranteed money, right? He's still going to get paid. He still showed up. He still played games. He's still going to get paid a healthy sum of money. But he was out of guaranteed money. He wanted that guaranteed. And, you know, in case he got injured, you know, and that did happen. He, you know, I think he played 10 games. He went out week 10 or in the 10. I think it was week 10 when he went out. He played 9 games. But then all of a sudden he's gone. He's done for the year, you know, and it's that ankle. The ankle that was a problem in 2023 and 2022 and 2021. You know, it's like, hello, doctor. There's a little something going on here. Go check it out, huh?
So I think that's a problem. I think that's a problem right there, is how much these players are getting paid and them worrying about their contract instead of going and playing the game. If they were getting a weekly salary, or if they were getting, you know, like paid game by game or something like that, or, you know, paid by going to practice or something like that, they can break it down for, and maybe pay them less. And when a family can live off, you know, and a lot of families live off of $24,000 a year, and they can survive with $24,000 a year. These players are making way too much money. You know, I think that's our issue right there. Is, you know, guaranteed being hurt and stuff like that. You know, yeah, you should get paid. You know, you should feel like, hey, if I go out and I swing for the fence and I get hurt, you know, I got some contract, I got some kind of stability, I got some kind of insurance that's going to cover me, right? But that's not always how it works out for normal people, right? So I don't know, David. Maybe we made these players like super.
Well, you know, rich is rich. You know, you got, if you have a lot of money like that and you manage it wisely, you're going to be fine.
Yeah.
But if you're constantly taking trips to Cabo and buying like Lamborghinis and, you know, $15 to $20 million mansions and having to pay taxes on all this stuff and, you know, yachts, you know, jets, like whatever. If you buy all that stuff, it's going to cost a lot of money to, number one, buy it. Number two, insure it. Number three, maintain it. Number four, you got to pay taxes on it. So, you know, you may, if you handle your money wisely, $30 million will last you more than a lifetime. You know, your kids will get a big chunk of that money, you know, and if you invest it wisely, like start a business that's going to be around for a while, all right, you're actually starting a legacy and something your family can take over and keep going. So you're actually setting your family up for generations. But a lot of these players, they, you know, get money. They'll, all right, I'm buying my mom a mansion. I'm buying me a mansion. I'm buying my sister a mansion. I'm buying my brother a mansion. Okay, now you're going to be on the hook for the taxes for all 4 of those. You just literally drained your account for many years to come. You know, it's all about being wise with the money. They're actually putting the draft prospects through classes now to teach them about money management because of what past players have done. And they've made, say, $50 million throughout their career. This is before $50 million. It was $50 million a quarterback a year. I'm talking like well before that. And these guys have just blown it. It's gone. They're broke. Now they're like trying to schedule autograph signings where they're charging people $10 an autograph, and they're trying to, they're just doing what they can to make more money because they just spent it, and they're still needing to spend it because they still own everything that they need to pay tax. It's a vicious cycle. It's a vicious cycle. If you're wise with your money, you don't need $30 million a year, but at the same time, signing all these contracts has affected the other players that we can get on the team. Like our offensive line, we have one big contract on our offensive line. The rest of the guys are either on rookie deals or like swing tackle mid low level deals, right?
Yeah, and I agree. I agree they should get paid what, and I appreciate everyone for coming. I agree that they should get paid whatever they can, whatever you can make. That's the whole ultimate goal. But the point, and I think what me and David are both coming to is when you pay one player more than you're paying the rest of the team, and it's significantly hurting that whole overall team. What are you really doing? I mean, like, you got 53 guys. You got 53 guys that you're supposed to be like, they're all supposed to be out there playing. So should we just eliminate the salary cap altogether and just say, hey, pay these guys whatever they want, and if you can pay, you can win, right? No, it's because if they don't have a salary cap, then you're going to have certain teams that are going to just have all the best players, and none of these other teams can ever get to a point where they can snatch up another player because the marketing, everything, all these jerseys we buy, all these people, all these stuff, like you're just saying, the people that they still want to go and get autographs for after they've retired won't be happening because it's not going to worth it. It won't be worth anything. We're not the Yankees, and this is football, so we want to try to keep it where there's some kind of normalcy, where we can kind of keep everything in check. But again, when you go and you pay a player too much money, you can't pay the rest of the players. And that's what's really happened to this team because, look, you just said we got one good linebacker, and he's got a broken foot. We don't have anybody in as a cornerback, the safety, because we have one good linebacker. We have we have one good defensive lineman. And because of that, Bosa, which is a great player, but we can't afford anybody else. And then, we had a bad contract with Dee Ford a couple of years ago. So we had that bad contract that held up a lot of money on us. But now we only have one offensive lineman. You got 5 offensive linemen, and we got one because we can only pay one. No, we're overpaying one. That's almost at the end of his career, but we like the guy so much, and we want him to win a Super Bowl, so we're paying him what he's. And he is a really good lineman when he's out there. But David, how many times has Mr. Williams been injured? How many seasons have we seen him, walk away, or have to end the season because of he's got like the stanky leg or something like that. He keeps getting hurt or something like that. So I just, at a certain point, it's like when you have a player who keeps getting hurt, how do you break away from that contract and say, hey, man, you're guaranteed money. We understand, but your best availability is when you're on the field. And if you're not on the field, you're just. But that's the breakdown of the contract, right? The wording and stuff, and that's why it took Ayuk so long to sign his contract because he wanted that guaranteed money. And it's hard for me again to see, and it's not because I don't make that money, but it's when you are paying players so much money and you're not playing other players. Like Brock Purdy makes $100,000, and we got quarterbacks out there making millions of dollars, and they're not putting up the numbers that he's putting up. It doesn't seem like it works out. So maybe they should come to some kind of mutual salary cap where this is your quarterback, and this is how much a quarterback can make. That's it. This is how much a lineman can make, and maybe that would work out better because it does seem like these players are worried about what's going to happen down the road instead of winning the game right now.
Well, so a big reason why I was saying what I was saying is what ends up happening is you end up with all these guys that have top tier salaries. That's great. Okay, and that money is not going to be allotted around the team like our offensive line. We have Trent Williams and who else? Dominique Pooney's on a rookie deal. He's our second. He was probably our second best offensive lineman. A lot of people put Trent up in that high end category. But that's it. With one offensive lineman on a big contract out of 8 to 9 on the team. Defensive linemen, we have 2 that are signed to big contracts, which one of them is actually going to probably reports are he's being cut post June 1st, but that has to wait because we have to take his salary cap hit for this year, no matter what, to be able to make that work out. Right. And then like linebackers, we have Fred. He's got his good contracts. Dre Greenlaw is going to be a free agent, and he's talking like he wants to test the waters. And that's that's loyalty. That's a loyalty issue that you were talking about earlier. And we'll have to see what happens. But you spend money on 2 wide receivers, Ayuk 30+ million, Debo 20+ million. You got, Kittle's big contract, which Kittle is the best tight end in football. He should be paid like this. All right. I'm not going to argue with it. Fred is one of the best linebackers in football. He should be paid like this. And shout out to Steve-O. When you break your ankle and you play on it every week, it's not going to heal. You got to get off of it. So, and it was the Patriots game. I think that was week 4. I think you're right. But, and then, it's just, it has a trickle down effect all over the place. And with how poorly we drafted in 2022 and 2023, that 100% ties the hands up of the 49ers. They have to pay Ayuk. They have to pay Trent. They have to pay CMC because they have no choice. They don't have anyone else. Right. So, there's all kinds of factors that come in. Like we let McGlinchey walk, and McKivitz has been over there, and it's pretty much been the same, when it comes to protection wise, it's pretty much been the same. But McGlinchey goes to the Broncos, gets paid $20-something million, and I don't hear their fans griping about him. So that's and then we've been winning a lot. What else happens too? Our position coaches, our assistant coaches, they go away. All these teams want them. Ooh, okay, and and I've been saying, like, is it they want to go somewhere and get that promotion, or is it Kyle's a hard guy to work for? See, this is a good question. And this question is going to be answered if Robert Saleh signs that contract and comes back to us. If he doesn't, then I think that answers that question. The Kyle's hard to work for, right?
Yeah, because they said that the way I understand it, the salary cap doesn't include the coordinators or the coaches. So you can pay a defensive coordinator the same as you're paying a coach if you choose to, is what you're willing to do. I don't see why you would want your coordinators to continue to leave. And how many coordinators did the Niners have, or how many coordinators did such team have that went off to become head coaches? That's great, and it sounds really cool and stuff. But when you look back and you say, oh man, you had a super team with a super coach roster. Everybody was great, the coordinators, everybody. But every year you had to readjust because you kept losing a player. How does that, or a coach, how do you get any better if you have to keep on relearning a playbook, or you got to meet somebody, and I guess it doesn't matter, right? Because coaches don't really coach anybody anymore at this point, right? I don't believe that's true. I really don't. So, David, I got a couple questions for you. It's been a little while since we've been able to get back and forth together. Still trying to do the YouTube channel thing when I get to. And I appreciate everybody for coming. We got a couple games coming up later today. And I know you do the weekly picks. So anybody who's out there, tune in to David McNiner on Wednesdays for the weekly picks, the Corey Davis weekly picks. And yeah, definitely tune in. But how are you feeling about what is it, the Bills? And now I'm going to have to look. But I believe the Bills is the first game. How are you
Bills
feeling
and
about
Broncos. I think the Broncos are at the Bills, right?
that? Yeah.
Shout out to the Kansas City Chiefs and making sure they duck the Cincinnati Bengals. I'm going to start off there. Just make absolute sure that you duck the Bengals because you're scared of Joe Burrow. There it is. I said it. But yeah, I don't expect the Broncos to win this game. They have a rookie quarterback, which Bo Nix, he's been better than the scouts projected. I'm going to say that right now. The scouts all had him, late first round, early second rounder. The Broncos took him pretty early in the first round, and he's looking like a winner at this point. He still has another year to get under his belt, and then we'll know more about it. But he's looking good, right? And you picked him with the 31st overall pick on our mock draft series.
Yeah, I was really excited about Bo Nix. I think he's got potential. Greg is he's going to post this here. He said Denver at Buffalo. Denver could win that game. I feel it. I really do. Josh Allen's a great quarterback. He's really, really good. He's really, really good. But
let's talk about him for a minute. So last season, he was mistake prone, right?
Yeah.
And all previous seasons, he throws interceptions. He makes mistakes.
Yeah.
This year, all of a sudden, in his 7th season, he's developed and become that guy that doesn't do that. 7 seasons, I'm just saying because our guy's only just finished his 3rd. So, I'm not just saying, I'm saying it took Josh Allen 7 seasons to get there, folks.
He's had some up and down seasons. He sure has. The guy is really big. He's a big quarterback. He can throw the ball really deep. But like you said, he's had some issues. And I think if the old issues occur, then yeah, Denver could win this game. And that would be a pretty big upset because the Bills should make it to the Super Bowl here eventually, right? So if it's not them this year, then you would at this point with their team being the way they are, and it's really with Allen being around because it seems like their teams went through a lot, but he's still there. And since he's there, he keeps them in the mix of things. So, and then who do we got next after that, David? We got the Bills. We got the Broncos. I'd like to see the Broncos win that game. Shout out to Gammon. Thanks for Gammon coming in. Gammon Strong, Mr. Gammon Brown. Let's see who we got today. I had it all written down. Let's see. The next game. Oh, there it is. The game of the week, folks. And this is the game that this is the Packers at the Eagles. And shout out to Uncle Greg here. He is a big Packer fan. And you guys know all the other Packer fans that come on, Josh and Josue, and we also have Aaron. They're big Packer fans. So this is the Niner channel that is Packer friendly. And Steve-O is also a Packer. He likes the Packers as well. But yeah, I feel like this is a good game for the Packers to go into Philadelphia. I think if any team this in the NFC this offseason, this playoff season, this rounds could win in Philadelphia, it would be the Packers. I think the Packers, their fans travel really well. I don't think their fans are going to put up with Philly's crap. Phillies fans are really crap. They really are. You don't throw beer bottles at women. You don't throw beer bottles at anybody in general. That's garbage. But I think the Packers have a really good team. And I don't know if it's the season of love yet, but I definitely think he's getting better and better. But it's funny with the Eagles, they're kind of like a mirror image of us in a way, because last year they kind of fell apart and now they're back together. And it's because they did some shifting in the coordinators. So can we do that? Can Kyle, shift some coordinators around and get some new faces in there and then us make another run back at it? I think it's possible. For me,
Clay
David,
Kubiak has been officially promoted to offensive coordinator. I'm not sure if you saw that news.
yeah, and because he did that, Shanahan violated a rule announcing that before actually doing interviews for the position. So legally, we weren't supposed to announce that. We were actually supposed to have interviews for the position. So we might or might not get in trouble for that.
I don't think so because it's a promote. It's a guy that was already on the staff. We didn't hire him from the outside.
It's what they did with the defensive coordinator last year. We should have went ahead and had interviews for it, and we didn't. So I hope we don't get in trouble. But it's just kind of like what we did exactly with the defensive coordinator last year. So, and
Well, and Robert Saleh, he's getting all these interviews because the Rooney Rule. You know, I'm not saying that's the way it is, but that's messed up, right? I honestly think he's a good coach that went to a horrible organization in the New York Jets. You know, it's the truth, right? And it's like the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think was it him that was talking to them about being a head coach. I know someone, the Jets also had their eye on Brian Griese, our QB coach, but I honestly don't. I think the only reason a head coach takes that job is because he's got nothing else.
Brian Griese is interesting because he was the quarterback that took over for Elway when Shanahan was still over there as head coach. So he's got Shanahan ties back in Denver. And, now him being with the Niners, that doesn't hurt us. I think it's worked out really well for us. But I feel like we let Robert Saleh go so we could save D'Amico. And then we let D'Amico go. It's like you got to pick one or the other. It's like, you let your best girl go because you didn't want your girl on the side to get away. And now she got away. So now you're calling up that number again, huh? Because you're lonely, right? And that's what we were waiting for. We're waiting for Robert Saleh to decide if he wants to be a head coach of the Oakland Raiders. Oh, forgive me. The Las Vegas Raiders or the Jacksonville Jaguars. And if Robert Saleh chooses those two teams over us, then it's going to, there you go. But we're waiting for Robert Saleh right now to let us know what's going on. David, I like Saleh. I really do. I think he comes back. I think he really comes back. I'm hoping so. So, yeah, with the Packers, I think the Eagles have a good chance of winning, too, because it's just a home field advantage. And they do have a good team, but I'd like to see the Packers win. Your thoughts? You want Packers? You want Eagles? You think how close do you think it's going to get?
I think it's going to be a close game. Remember, these guys played in the first week of the NFL in Brazil, right?
I believe so.
And it's like the Eagles literally had to knock their QB out to be able to beat them. Sound familiar?
No.
Dirty birds. Dirty birds. Dirty birds.
Well, if you got to
win. But, so here we are. They're in the playoffs. And Jordan Love needs to do what he has to do to stay upright. Just don't let the Eagles touch you, buddy. Like, I mean, there are some plays he's not going to have much of a choice, but still try not to let them even affect the game by knocking you out. I think the Packers are going to take it, believe it or not. And main reason why is because they have a better head coach. I think LaFleur is better than Sirianni. I do.
Yeah.
And look what the Packers are working with. They don't have a highly talented team. They don't have two very highly paid wide receivers, just kind of like the 49ers. They don't have the best running back in the league or one of the top two running backs in the league. They actually have a really good tight end too. He's not George Kittle level, but he's really pretty good. And then their defense. They hired Vic Fangio. And Vic Fangio took the players they had and ran with it, and
yeah,
he's a 3-4 guy. And a lot of people were saying that we didn't hire him because we just didn't know it was Shanahan didn't want to change the scheme. Okay. And that's really why. we had the personnel to actually change over, minus a nose tackle, which that's what Evan Anderson actually was. So really, after we we signed him an undrafted free agent, we really did have the personnel to do that. Because Leonard Floyd, he's an outside linebacker in a 3-4. He's an edge in our scheme, right? Robert Beal Jr. is the same thing, an outside linebacker in a 3-4, edge in the scheme. So when it comes down to it, it's like we do have the personnel to play a 3-4, and I think Kyle might have, overthought things when he decided to go with Sirianni or Sorensen. Sirianni. Sorry, Sorensen. I didn't mean to insult you that way. But, Sorensen, and not go with Vic Fango. That's just my opinion. On top of that, we couldn't stop the run. Like, my mom with both her knee replacements could have ran on that defense.
I like Fangio. You've heard me say it. I said it a lot. We should have went after him last year. We chose not to, just like you just stated. They didn't want to change the scheme. And now it's funny, after everything that happened with this year's defense, they said, oh, well, maybe you should have changed, maybe now we should change the scheme because teams have learned to play against us and know how we like to stop teams. So, you got to be able to adjust. So it's just really funny that that's where we're at right now. So, David, last game, Commanders, another coordinator that we lost, coordinator or office personnel, vice president, GM, whatever Mr. Peters was. He is a commander. He's got those Washington guys going, and they're in the playoffs. They got a rookie quarterback, and they're playing up against the Buccaneers. And Tampa Bay got Tom Brady. They're still alive, and they haven't really sunk their ship or anything. They've been doing really well. They keep going to the playoffs. So maybe it wasn't all Tom. Maybe they actually had something there before him. But Tom Brady got him to the Super Bowl a couple times there, and Baker Mayfield, he's got his team in the playoffs. So how do you feel? The Commanders are going to be playing the Buccaneers tonight. That's the last game, and then I think we got a game tomorrow. I think it's the Vikings at the Rams, and they had to move that game because of the fires down in California. There's a lot of fires right now in California, so it's not fun. But imagine to have your playoff game relocated to another state because of it. So how do you feel about the Commanders real quick, and then we're going to get out of here because games are about to start.
I think the Commanders, now where are they going? The Buccaneers, right? They're going to Tampa Bay?
Yeah.
I think that's going to be a good game because Tampa Bay is a veteran team. They have a lot of older players that have been there, done that. So, and the Washington Commanders, Redskins, football, whatever their name is.
Yeah,
they're kind of an up and coming team with a young QB, and that they do have a lot of young pieces on that team. So, this could go either way. I think at this point, the Commanders are going to go in and win this game because, young and dumb and just don't know better.
Oh, wow. that can definitely happen because you got a new team. They got a lot of hype. They believe in themselves. You could call them maybe a dark horse if you want to. They shouldn't win because they're young, right? Everybody else has more experience, but sometimes experience doesn't matter. It matters about getting in there and getting out. And oh wow, it's just one of those things where the Commanders can be really, really good. They could be really, really good here soon, and they could be better than people think. So, not everybody, not every time you draft a quarterback do you hit on it, but this one, they just might have won. So, all right, folks. Well, thank you, David, for coming. Thank you, everybody in the chat that was here. Anybody who watched that?
What about the Rams and the Vikings? Vikings and the Rams being moved, though. Where are they going? Arizona?
Yeah, you can't forget about the Rams and
Okay, so number one, the Rams don't have a real home field advantage because they don't have enough of their own fans in that stadium to say it's a home field advantage. Let's be honest here, But them going, but two dome teams going to a stadium, and I don't know, are the Cardinals going to have the roof open or closed?
Oh, that's a good question. That's a good question. That's gonna make a difference too. But yeah, really true. The Rams share the stadium with the Chargers. The Chargers just lost the other day. If you guys didn't see the game with the Texans, Chargers started out strong, but they didn't finish strong. And Herbert threw too many interceptions in one game. If you look at his stats for the whole season, it wasn't that bad. You look at that one game, it was bad.
Brian, I picked the Chargers. I should have picked the Texans because I should have remembered that game against the Jaguars where the Chargers were up huge and then just choked. They couldn't get it done. I should have remembered that.
Probably one of the biggest. No, it's okay. It's one of the biggest games probably in his career, and hopefully Herbert can get back to it because Herbert's got Harbaugh now, and they're gonna be good together. Herbert's a good quarterback. He just needs a coach that believes in him the right way. So yeah, with the Rams not really having a home crowd majority of the season, they're moving their playoff game to Arizona. I don't think that will that's not going to help them much. It's not going to hurt them much either because they kind of they don't have anybody there anyways. But the Vikings, any of the Vikings fans that were flying to LA, hopefully they can get their tickets routed to Arizona, and then they should be hopefully proud, and loud, and maybe you'll see more purple in the stadium than blue.
Well, and ultimately, do you seriously think I'm sure Cardinals season ticket holders and all these folks are getting priority on tickets that are left over? I'm sure they are. But do you seriously think the Cardinals fans are going to root for the Rams?
No, that'd be hard to. And hey, shout out real quick before we get out of here. Shout out to Sam Darnold. You left the Niners, and look at you now, right? Number one overall draft pick. David, I don't want to say it for sure, but I think he's been in the league for close to 7 years. I could be wrong. Sam Darnold, hey, go figure. It just took him a couple years. So maybe that's the new thing, give a quarterback 7 years and see what they can do, right? The Vikings and Bills, you imagine that Super Bowl? That could be crazy. Folks, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed some football today. If not, get a cup of coffee in you if you haven't got one already. And David, I'll be back with you next time as soon as I can. And everybody else, stay faithful. Go Niners. As my Uncle Greg says, go Pack Go. Go Bo Nix. And you got anything, Mr. David, before we leave?
Well, it's the off season. I'll be starting the draft, the mock draft season starts on my birthday, February 1st, Saturday night. That's why I figure I'm going to kick it off. It's a good time too. So, any other crew, the folks in the groups, any one of our friends can come and make it. They're more than welcome to be there. Hopefully we can have a different group on every week. And so hopefully sometimes you can make it, but we'll see how that works out. Right.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll make it when we can make it. And every time you did it last year, it was a lot of fun. If you guys have gotten time, if you have time, go back and watch some of David's films, videos from last year around this time. We had a lot of fun predicting quarterbacks going places and kickers and all kinds of other things. So fingers crossed, and hopefully the player you pick or, hope, it's kind of like a lottery pick. You don't really win any money, but it's fun to say, hey, this guy's going here, and they actually do. I still want the Niners to go get Devin Culp, but we'll see about that. All right, folks, we're gonna be out of here. And hey, if you haven't grabbed you some spam, and don't consider this season, totally, forgotten. We learned a lot, and we had a lot of fun, and it's not spam. You got to go through the good times and the bad times, cooked or uncooked. And with that, folks, we will be back. So we'll see you next time. Thank you.